Test, test, test.
Yeah, give me a couple
Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, perfect. Calling the City of Rollingwood Community Development Corporation meeting to order February 10th. It is 12:06. Do we need to do a quick roll call? Yep. Emily Doran here.
Pat Sheehan here.
Bobby Hempling here.
Colin Harvey here.
Brian Ryder here.
Great. Okay. Before we get into the consent agenda, do we have anyone for public comment? Full house today. No.
Deep bench.
And we have nobody online.
Online. Okay, perfect.
I'm
Okay.
amazed that people don't come to this meeting to
I
hear the
know.
riveting discussion.
Now I'll move into the consent agenda. We will do discussion and possible action on the minutes from January 13th, 2022 of the RCDC meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion. Minutes approved. Okay. Regular agenda. Presentation and discussion regarding authorized projects for the RCDC. Is that right? Yes, that's right. Okay.
We had touched on this briefly at the last meeting and wanted to bring back just a general overview. I know we had we had talked about what types of projects and in looking to put together a list for the board of potential projects that the board could consider and thank you. Okay. And pass along to the city council for consideration. Under 501 and 505 is where we find our statutory controls for the types of projects that an economic development corporation can do as a type B. Under 501, we have those provisions relating to projects that are going to create or retain primary jobs. And we have certain identified categories of projects there, as well as under 505 for type B corporation. So long as the corporation board feels that the project or can identify and establish the public purposes for a project that meets the requirements of the city for expenditure of those economic development funds, then they can enter into an agreement under any of those categories as well. These include projects that are related to business enterprises that create or retain primary jobs through performance agreements, as well as projects for sports venues, small city projects, which is what RCDC is eligible for under 505 as a economic development corporation for a municipality under 20,000. The list, I had mentioned last time as well, before I just go through the entire list, that it's really dependent on your ballot language. And Ashley has provided that, and I put that in the presentation. You have very extensive ballot language. And so the ballot language had 4 categories of projects, A, B, C, and D. The majority of what's covered under A, B, and C is what I would consider to be your standard enumerative list of projects that are eligible for EDC consideration. Everything from the community, let me look at the actual language in 505 of water supply facilities and water conservation programs are included. Recreational and community facilities are included. And then you've got general language for projects, I believe, under 501 as well.
And quick clarifying question, Megan. We vote on this every 4 years. Is that correct? Because it was on the ballot for this last time, or no?
It's
I
like
don't-
2002.
Or
No, the street sales tax.
that? Okay. Sorry. Forgive me.
And
Sorry.
this language was the statutory language that had,
In 2000.
at the time.
Right.
And the statute's been amended since then. I haven't gone back and looked at it, but I was involved in preparing the ballot back in the day.
This ballot language comes from 2002, right? Okay, just clarifying that. Okay, thanks.
Yes, and so it is fairly expansive. And so in asking the question of what types of projects can the I guess the question was, what kind of projects can the RCDC do or consider? And my response is, you know, we really just need to have that discussion and have that idea brought forward, and let us review the total parameters of the project and be able to provide our legal input as to whether or not we feel like that project, if we can find the public purposes, and if council and the EDC are in agreement, then, you know, we would memorialize that project. I don't know that I can specifically say what is not permitted. It's intended to be read to the benefit of the community and the governing body.
I don't think we could do a 50,000 seat sports arena.
No, I don't think that would go over well.
That's an A project.
Yeah. But I mean, this is helpful because I think this, you know, again, it lays it all out there. If anyone has thoughts or questions about it, but it's pretty broad. But to your point, we need as a group to come together and decide what we want to do, and then use the knowledge power of you, Megan, to help us decide. Do we proceed? Does it fit within the ballot language? Can we move this forward? Can we not? Okay.
If I could ask one other question. 505303 addresses maintenance and operating costs of projects. And it says that the cost of a publicly owned and operated project purchased or constructed under this chapter, that's 505, include the maintenance and operating costs of the project. And then there's a second section that deals with the possibility of having an election that would authorize maintenance and operating costs in other contexts. You said in a meeting last month that your advice generally of your group is that maintenance and operating costs are not appropriate projects for this group, and I would ask that you'd kind of take a look at 303 and come back and talk to us about why not, because if the RCDC did the trails and drainage facilities and other things up in the park, it seems to me that we meet the process if it's publicly owned and operated and it is constructed under this chapter. And so the
Certainly.
O&M would be appropriate for that.
Certainly, happy to do that. And you're right. In that, I was thinking that, and I should not have assumed that question was based on our prior opinion that had been provided to the board a couple of years back. And so happy to go back and look at that and check some AG opinions and see if that is something, because if this is what the board feels like it wants to do, and we just want to make sure that moving forward we've put the project in the proper context.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do as well.
And I think, Brian, to your point, I would rather us come up with the projects first and decide, I just don't want Megan spinning her wheels on something if our project list doesn't include something like that. So is that fair?
We still have to come up with the project.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we can go down that path. Okay, cool. Awesome. Any more conversation or questions or thoughts? Okay, thank you. Okay, now the fun part. Review and discussion of the process of identifying, prioritizing, and executing potential future projects for the RCDC. So,
May I ask, is
Yeah.
5 and 6 basically the same thing? Potential
No,
future projects, or if not, what
in
is
some
the-
way, yes. I think what we were hoping for 5 is sort of talk through the process of as the group's coming together and we are deciding upon projects, how it works, right?
Okay,
Most people think in the community think that RCDC decides and we just go off on our own, and that's not what happens. Obviously, we come up with a project, the city council then blesses it or does not bless it, and we proceed. So I just wanted us to all make sure that we're clear on that piece of it.
I think
Go ahead, Pat.
one thing that needs to be discussed is how does the park commission interface with this? Because in the previous projects,
Mhm.
park commission has always come up with the park projects and approved them, and then they send them over here with the estimates and the budget
Mhm.
needed to do those projects. And then the city council would approve it or not.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, I don't know that we should be doing the park commission's work, but at the same time, somebody needs, I agree that the park does need help.
Mhm.
So, I mean, how's that
Help.
gonna interface?
When you say help, what do you mean?
Well, this maintenance of, this
Mm.
trimming the trees that have been damaged, or planting new
Okay.
trees.
I have to say that, like, especially after the last, project that we proposed that was in the park
Mhm.
and was, a part of the park and everything else, I think we were told pretty clearly that not a lot of retail development needs to happen in the park. And so my opinion was that we were gonna start, or I thought what we'd said is, let's start focusing on the BK's corridor, start driving revenue, and then let the city council spend money on the park.
Well, I think, the two things we can work on are business development in the park, period.
Yeah.
I don't think we should abandon the park for our efforts at all. I mean, I think it does need improvements
Mhm.
that need to be done to keep it as a park.
And I think, I'm in complete agreement. And I don't know the answer to your question about how we interface with the Park Commission. I think that's something we have to go and build some bridges to do. Bobby, my feeling is that keeping the park as the crown jewel of the community is a big deal. And that has economic implications about who wants to live here, who wants to improve houses here, who wants to build houses here, what our tax base will be because of what is built. So the park to me has social, educational, community, as well as financial aspects to it. Now, I don't want to do development of the park of the milk and cookies thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Barry and I and David and I we were on opposite sides of that, but we've made peace with each other over it. But I think that, as Pat just explained, I mean, we have some dead trees that need to be replaced. We have some from frost damage from last year. We probably need requests in the master plan. We're gonna have a hearing on that, next Wednesday is the public hearing
I
on
think
that.
so.
But the polling that was done as part of the master plan programming said that people really wanted the park to continue and be buffed up a little bit, and that's what they wanted to see. So it's,
Can I ask a question, Brian, or actually to the group, because I don't know how it works. So I mean, I think everybody's in violent agreement about what everybody is saying in terms of the value of the park, right? I mean, no one's,
Yeah.
and that's why you have created a park commission, right? To be the custodian of that. Or now the thing I get confused about is who's in charge of the dollar allocation, because there's lots of different things, from a planning and zoning and an infrastructure perspective that need to get funded in different ways. There's different ways to fund things. We have a revenue source that seems like is aligned to what I kind of heard you describe. I agree with you that the park, being kept at that level has those benefits. It's just, it seems like it's a question of, like, shouldn't we divide and conquer and get those guys, in a position to propose their projects, get funded through some other mechanism, and we focus on what I think I've read here we're supposed to, which is really more direct economic development, and let them be the stewards of that park. Because I think we all agree on that fundamental. I think it's just the mechanics of the funding. And that's where my question comes in. I don't know where it comes from.
An allocation of
Yeah,
our
that's what I was saying too.
And I just don't know the answer to that. It's just,
Well, I don't know
Why
that
doesn't the
there
city
is.
council fund the park departments to keep up the parks, rather than having the economic development
Well,
board?
therein lies, of course, political issues that we don't get to deal with particularly. I don't know how the city council comes up with their budget for the park, and I don't know how the city council comes up with $88,000 for administering this group, which was what was done. An argument can be made that the city council sort of charged us with some administrative money and then found a place to cycle that into other things. And that may just be the way it is because of the city's needs. Okay, that's fine. But we need to be a little bit more transparent about it, I think.
Can we propose a project to clarify this? I mean, it seems like we're
part-
gonna.
Part of the Parks Commission's role is to actually fundraise on their own. So that's a part of the park master plan. It's a part of their sort of objectives. And I know the group, I've talked to several members that have expressed an interest in wanting to do that and how to do that. So I feel pretty strongly about if they were to propose some fundraising ideas of how they would raise money and what strategically they wanted to fix and how then we could work together and create some economic opportunity that, again, keeps the park the way we love it, right, and enhances it. I'm all for that. I to your point, we kind of have to find a way to meet in the middle on this, and that it's not just, oh, we need to trim trees, so we're going to go to RCDC. I need a bit more about how are they going to help rise the boat.
Why even have
Right.
it if they're not gonna do
I mean,
what
yeah.
you just described?
So the fundraising is on them to do.
It would be so, that's,
Well,
it's easy.
wait, why isn't,
I know.
why can't we use some of our money for that?
We can.
I'm not
We
proposing-
can, but it has to in line
I'm
with
not
the
proposing
project.
not to put the majority of our money, what you're talking about, Bobby, on the BK Road corridor
Yeah.
and doing that.
Yeah, and I don't think
As a matter
we're.
of fact, you can make a mesh, and that's what Barry had proposed earlier last year, and that I'm fully on board with, and that is using the park as a place where, say, Trader Joe's could put up a kiosk on a Saturday and show their wares, and we would put up a food truck or something like that and draw a crowd and do some, and I suppose there are other merchants along there that might want to do the same thing, that we could, it's a benefit to us if people shop at Trader Joe's instead of go down to Randall's. Randall's is not, we don't get any sales tax from Randall's. So the two are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Maybe that's a good way to look at it too, Brian, but let's get some stuff done that produces some revenue.
Yeah.
Then we can allocate,
Right.
right? And if we start producing revenue and we can allocate some of it to that, and that makes sense to do it. And because I agree with you, that's a good point. There is a handshake there.
Yeah.
Well, synergy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's felt like too often that it's just the park
But-
commission needs something done, and they're coming to us and saying fix it.
Do
and
they know they need to do that, Emily?
Yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We've got $30,000. There's a project last year for $30,000 that never got done, right?
When it came to the RCDC.
We
Yeah.
approved
Yeah.
it, and the council
yeah,
approved it to
and
work
they
on the
never did
park.
it.
And it's sort of just,
Yeah,
I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah.
Other than COVID.
It was like a big re-landscaping,
Right.
planting.
Right, right.
And the cleanup.
It didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just didn't get done.
But we
So we have a
approved it,
different
and it
problem.
went to the city council. and-
yeah.
So,
We got to find a way to work together and meet in the middle. I agree.
well,
Ashley, when does the park commission meet?
They meet on the first Monday of the month at 11:30 a.m.
The first Monday of each month?
Yes.
Need to go give them the what for is what I do.
But I think they've got to start thinking strategically about ideas and how they want to do things and fundraising and what that looks like and all of those pieces. Because if they came to us with like, hey, we want to improve XYZ within the park and we'd like to partner with you on, we have this fundraising idea. Like, great, let's talk about it, right?
time out.
Yeah.
We don't have to fundraise anything. We've
No,
got
no.
plenty, we've got plenty of money to
Yeah, we've
fund.
got $375 grand or
Yeah.
something. in
I'm
the bank.
saying, but we can't be the coffers for every project that they
park.
No.
want. That's what I'm.
Well,
They
gotta
need to
co-
go raise their own money.
Well, I wouldn't put it that way. The park commission needs to manage the park and come up with what its needs are. And if it falls in our purview where it's an improvement, we can fund it. And that's what we've done historically. The playscape up there we paid for, the adult exercise equipment, that wall out here we paid $120,000 for. So those are improvements, and they aren't gonna raise $120,000. I mean, they'll be doing good to raise $1,200, the way I see it. So, and we've got over $300,000 in our bank account. So it's not like we should wait on fundraising. We need to find projects that have a high priority and a need, and try to get the park commission to write them up, get the estimates, and see if they wanna do it, think it's good for the park, and send it over here. And if we like it, we can approve it, send it, and the city council approves it. and then that something gets done, I hope, at that level.
I agree.
That's my point of view on fundraising.
Yeah. I mean, but it is a part of their,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
Their
great they have
purview
have
to do
equity
that.
in the deal. I don't have a problem with that.
yeah.
But again, I get back to the fact, and I know that it is what it is, and that's the way it's always been, but I always wonder, if the city council wants the park department to build a new wall, why doesn't the city council give the money to the parks department to build the new wall? Why does the city council ask the economic development board to,
Well, somebody's gotta fund it, and the city's,
Right. but why wouldn't the city do that rather than,
well, it comes, we can fund it under our funding.
oh, we can,
It's
I
kind of-
understand, but it just seems kind of,
That's
I
why
think
we're
it's a
here.
question- I think it's a question, Bobby, of where is money in the which pocket at the time.
yes.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's that blank, that,
yeah.
I don't know. Pat's been
Fair enough.
here
Yeah, but it's-
longer.
but it-
I was here at the beginning and I've
Yeah.
been gone for 15 years. But I think from watching as a citizen, that's what happens is the city says we need to do something. Where's the money for it?
And there's
they look
nothing,
around.
and there's nothing wrong with us proposing projects to the park commission, but I think you've gotta have them participate,
But I agree with Emily that they need to,
be part.
they really need to come to us, but I don't know
Yeah.
what they've done.
Yeah,
But again, I think that the bigger thing is that we're talking about needing more tax revenue so that we can fund infrastructure programs. And so shouldn't we be seeding those programs with our money to drive more tax revenue so that we can then
Well,
go in and put
that's
in
the
the
business
roads and the
development
water?
part, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
Trader Joe's or
And then let the city
significant
decide.
retail operations,
Yeah, yeah.
BKs that generate sales tax, whether it's
Right, and
restaurants.
then let the city pay for the walls at the park or the
Well-
playgrounds. Let's go spend this money to make more money is what I would say, so that we don't see tax increases to pay for the,
Well, yeah, I don't know that the city has the budget on a regular basis to have a non-recurring item like for $120,000 without bonds, personally.
got it.
I mean, I don't know. I've never sat down and studied their budget, but if it's a large, unusual item, either they're gonna have to bond it or if fits our purview, business development, and park development, they come over here.
Okay.
And I think when we review the list, there are some things that are improving the park. I mean,
Yeah.
that was not outside of some of the scope
Well,
of the
I
projects.
would think we should look at what we've already approved, because a lot of what's on this list was approved last year, and the money's been, quote, funded as far as
Mhm.
approved for the, and try to get the city to move on move on it, or the contractor they had in line to do it.
Okay.
And so does it sound like what you're saying is, in the past, the RCDC has approved a list of projects?
No,
No.
one
Okay.
by one,
Okay.
no list.
And that is something that this board should consider.
okay.
We have other EDCs that I've advised that knowing the types of projects or having an idea of what projects are feasible in the next fiscal year, you can put that project list together
Yeah,
at budget time and go ahead and get that process approved with council. So that just is one more step we check off that list that makes it easier to move forward with those.
Does that make sense to everybody? Like there's a way to do it that's not this, if it's a project that is in the park master plan or something that's already sort of been blessed by the community, that it's not this long drawn out process.
Yeah, I think we've got plenty to do. Just looking at the city's master plan that's gonna be subject to the hearings in the next, I guess, 3 months. And the park master plan, I'm trying to work on the script we've got, not invent something new. And I'm not
I think we
talking
all
about
are.
using so much of that as to take away from the primary purpose, as you've expressed it. The only thing I would say, though, is that I think that we are probably should be acting as seed capital or venture funding or angel investors or something with respect to some of that effort. I don't think we have to have profit-making arrangements
No.
immediately, like skipping to number 6, though, just looked about Barry's idea of doing the kiosk for some kind of vendor program. That ain't gonna make money the first week, the first time it's done.
Well, I'm not that short-sighted. I mean, I understand that. I see,
And so I think putting some seed money into something like that hopefully will become at least break even and provide some sales tax revenue. Something like that is within the scope of what we probably ought to be doing. Now, I'm just using that, I'm not trying to jump the agenda, Madam Chairman, but I'm just trying to talk about priorities and process of what we should be doing. Okay.
Okay, so I think we can move forward with actually going through the projects, if everyone's good with that discussion. Okay. Moving on to number 6, discussion and possible action regarding potential projects for RCDC in the coming year. So big shout out to Colin for sending this out, organizing it, and putting it in a lovely order here. And I thought we could just go one by one and chat and decide, again, the hierarchy of, it's all on here. If is it short term, long term, how, and then kind of, in a way, decide how we want to proceed. So the first one is berries of the farmer's market, and I know this is something he tried last year, and then just things did not work out, but he has expressed wanting to do that. So I think that is a great idea. I would absolutely support it and would love to have that be one of our projects.
My amendment, and I visited with Barry about this a little bit, is that I think an artist market or a blend of the two or something is a more feasible, more attractive kind of thing. We get more participants, like Trader Joe's. I mean, they sell flowers and they sell groceries, but they also do other things, and it could be, but some kind of a market. And I think that, Colin, your spring festival can dial into that same kind of a program, perhaps. The next item on the list.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're all very similar. The thing that I, kind of on that idea of seed investing to get to scale, the thing I wonder about is there a lot we would learn from getting one really good concentrated event to work, and then figure out, because I mean, when I think about farmers markets, I mean, just look at, we lived downtown for a long time, so we would go to the downtown one, and then there's another one over at the mall. I mean, you need a lot of traffic, a whole lot of traffic to get the really high quality vendors that you're gonna want. And that's the one that just concerns me, is can it really be repetitive?
I share that the market is already fragmented for that. My thought about the artist market is that we've had very large artist markets in the Austin area that because of COVID haven't been held for a while. The Pecan Street Festival downtown, the Armadillo Christmas Bazaar. There have to be artists or tradespeople, or I don't know what you would call them, but people who normally sell out of kiosk kind of situations that are looking for places to go because their standards, places where they've gone in the past to do this, are not there anymore, at least not right now.
Agreed.
So I think that dials into what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And whether you talk about wine and cheese, I think that's great. I think, but we need to bring these together and see if we can come up with something.
Yeah, I think all of it could be a little bit of all of that,
Yeah.
but just maybe the first pilot of how, what should this look like?
Single.
Yeah, do a single thing that we
Yeah.
really focus on, that people can, showcase their businesses.
And then we need
Let's
to do
do
some.
Austin Aquafest. We'll resurrect it right here in Rollingwood, Texas.
Well, the Aquafest kind of fizzled away a long time ago.
Or what about
Coming back.
Lollapalooza?
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm sure if
No.
you ask Ashley, she
Yeah,
wouldn't
there's
even know what
lots
the
of
heck
small towns and lots of areas that do festivals all the time, and they do it once a year, to your point, rather
Yeah.
than trying to do one every week or every month or whatever
Yeah.
it is. Just do a festival. Drive some. I think it's a great idea.
Drives community, drives.
And is it the point of the festival to bring in local vendors, local
Yeah, yeah.
artists?
Yep. Yes.
Exactly.
I think
Highlight-
it could just be the answer is yes, and then we just need to get somebody or some kind of not C3, but somebody that's good at this to get it rolling, promote it, and
I love
drive
C3,
money.
definitely C3.
Yeah, do it. I think they would love to come in and help us.
Yeah.
Put the Honda stage
1,000.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
backyard.
Yeah, on the Rolling Stones.
Okay, so some sort of like festival, like one event that we try to pilot that we, you know, kind of rally around food, beverage, artists, that sort of thing.
Yes.
So I think all three, the first three rows really kind of
Kinda,
combined to
yep.
one effort.
Yeah.
Has anyone been to the Mueller one? They have one every Sunday, and it is sort of like this. It's a food market.
Who
There's
does
Mueller.
Who?
At Mueller.
Oh, at Mueller?
Yeah. And it's sort of hodgepodged around their park area a bit, and it's foods, artists, you know, kind of a little bit of everything. I would go just see it for yourself because it's phenomenal. I mean, it really is amazing.
Cool.
And apparently, I have a friend that has is one of the vendors, and it took them months to get their spot.
It's a Sunday, you say?
Yes, sir. Starts at 10, I believe. And people bring their dogs, I mean, kids, and the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I've
It's
got in
really,
mind.
really neat. So that would be, I think, a great thing to sort of mimic. I mean, it's not so overwhelming that you can't walk through it in 15 or 20 minutes. But, I mean, they pack everybody in there, and those people make a ton of money. So
That's
I think that would be a good one to sort of try to mimic in maybe a smaller scale.
Cool.
Okay. Bobby, you're up with this rotating food truck, which I think we must have been thinking the same sort of thing.
Well, it's not a super original thought. That was some of the feedback I
Yeah,
heard when we were talking
from-
about Milk and Cookies. Is,
Right.
why do you have to do a full-time, built in?
Yeah.
Why not just try it as a food truck sort of thing? Rotate one in. I don't know what the interval is, but something that, can drive some revenue and be a corner spot for kids to walk to on a weekend someday. I don't know when.
Yeah.
Does anyone know, I mean, we have a concession stand up there that's got cooking equipment and whatnot in it, and it's never operated.
No,
Does
it's,
anyone know why?
Uh,
I'm for your idea, by the way.
from
I
what
don't know the answer,
from
but
what I
like
under,
that. I
from,
love that idea, but I think that
from what I understand
Even
is
Milk and Cookies
it's
would wanna use
this.
Baseball has.
I was gonna say baseball has
I
it.
think it's in the baseball leagues.
It's,
But they don't,
I know, but
I
that's,
haven't seen it open, Pat.
yeah,
No,
they've
no,
they've
That's
I
the
haven't
question.
they've tried. I know there was and I forget the individual's name. That
Did they try to hire it done?
they
or
tried to
did they
hire
try do it
somebody
with
to come in and
volunteers
kind of
couldn't
run
get
it, and it
volunteers, or-
just no. I just don't think that. I don't know if it's promoted in the right way, Brian. Of a usable space, what is in that space? To y'all's point, like on a baseball Saturday, could we open it up and I just don't think it's been marketed in the right way.
Your idea of food trucks and whatnot, the idea might work with baseball.
yeah, I
Because-
totally agree.
Yeah.
Or to your point too, I love the idea of having that concession stand open on this. And if we could rent it to somebody who'd be willing to make a go of it as a retail venue, and
I
just
mean,
say,
and I will tell you, it
Saturday and
needs
Sundays they make hamburgers. I don't know.
it needs a lot of work. So there would be
Yeah, I
some
haven't-
development to that, and the bathrooms are terrible. I mean, we would need to, if we were going to actually do that, we'd have to walk it and see. But I mean, please, that would be a huge project to invest in, which would be tremendous. I
But
think
that
for
would be an
baseball,
RCDC
like,
project, yeah.
and it could be something like when on Saturdays they could open it up for when people are at the park, which we all know how many people come to this park that are not from here.
I actually did not mean this to be an opening or reopening of the concession stand. I was just wondering if there's a real problem with putting any kind of a food vending up there that.
No, I don't think there's a
know.
problem.
We
I just
know.
don't think it's
I'm
been
all for reopening it.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been easy for Milk and Cookies, but they did not want that
Right.
facility. I
they
don't know
wanted
why.
closer to the street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they wanted more prominence in it, but.
But I mean, it's a great
Well,
question to ask.
I
Of
haven't
like,
been in the bathrooms in several
the bathrooms
years
are
either.
awful. They would have to be fixed.
Are they not operated or not maintained, or they not?
Let's
what's the
say there's
problem?
been some destruction of the bathrooms
Recently?
over time. So I think it's going to require just some maintenance and upkeep to keep them nice, fixing them. We may need security cameras of who's going and messing with them. I mean, it's I think it's become such a burden for the city that they're like, let's just shut it down and not mess with it.
The problem, of course, would be, or the facet, the reason that's relevant to the food trucks is, you gotta have a bathroom in order to have a food truck.
You have to.
license.
Yeah.
you also need a baseball.
And,
It needs-
Yeah. One, we need, they need the
I've sent my
bathrooms.
boys into those bathrooms when they were little. I don't remember it being terrible, but, I mean, it's been years. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ashley, who maintains those? Do you know what the arrangement is about maintaining those bathrooms?
I wouldn't say they're horrible.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Pay to get them
Okay,
cleaned. We do have a
I'm not
janitorial
using 'em.
service.
Say that again. We do have,
We do have a janitorial service, the same one that cleans City Hall. They also clean up there. It does have because of the way the water to get to it and it's hooked into irrigation and things like that, we often have water breaks and stuff. If we're going to have a break, it's probably going to be up there near the fields, or it'll make the bathrooms inoperable. Have a little bit of occasional vandalism. Try not to, because they generally stay locked at night. But also many people know the combination because it's just one of those such a neighborhood things that often we change it frequently, but still happens. But I mean they definitely. If it was going to be a more larger scale use, I think they work fine for the current group that's up there. But if they ever need like serious attention, please let us know.
No, of course.
We haven't been told they were too
I've
bad.
been in there.
so those two, Bobby, your idea, and Emily, your note on socials with food trucks.
Yep.
We would need to solve the bathroom problem. It seems to me to do either one of those.
Right. And I think we have to figure out how, like, what is actually, which would maybe be help from the retail coach, a comeback of maybe there is a vendor, food vendor, that would love to come in there, or do we find a look? Is Summer Moon set up shop once a month on Saturday
If
or
they
something?
can make it work in a Airstream trailer,
I mean,
I got a
right?
pretty good idea they could take a hard brick and mortar place.
I
and
mean, I
make it
hope
work.
so. So yeah, I mean, I think those are two both.
Yeah,
Valuable.
I haven't been in there in 15 years. I don't know what the heck's in there. But I know it had a pretty decent kitchen setup operation when it was originally
Yeah.
built. But I haven't been in since it was originally built, which has been a long time ago
Yeah.
now. But the food truck, put a couple of food trucks there. We've got nice, solid places for food truck, places for people to park. The question is gonna be, how do you coordinate that with the Little League, who's also trying to use the same parking area? It ought to be an amenity to the Little League.
I'm a big picture guy. I don't know. That's for somebody else to figure out.
Yeah.
One real simple one that would be kind of interesting is so that you don't start right out of the gate of doing that at the same time, and you don't necessarily have to fix the bathroom. Is if it was a once a month place that did really fantastic coffee and maybe to go kind of breakfast stuff, and so, like there's a place it's over off of what's beyond South Congress, but and they have a cool little deal where they've set out some tables and stuff like that, and just people have they know when they're going to be there, and there's just a bunch of people that'll come up on that Friday, and grabbing coffee, you don't have to a big a deal with the bathroom.
Yeah.
So that might be again kind of
To pilot it a
one
bit.
simple thing that people look forward to. It's like, oh, this is the Friday when everybody's there, everybody's going to be up there.
And again, all this gets back to Pat's question about how do we get the park people in and get them engaged in doing this. We're basically a funding mechanism because we have a source of money. We have the sales tax source of money. We're getting about $13,000 a month. But the park's got to do the work on getting a lot of this done, I think. Okay, all right, keep going so we can.
Yep. Then this
The
today.
dog park. You want to take on the dog park?
I thought let's
you
just
are
put
a
it out there and
brave
see.
person.
I was curious what everyone was gonna say. That's why I put it on there. Hot topic.
I don't
I mean,
have
it's a
a
hot
dog.
it's a hot topic.
I don't have a dog.
I don't have a dog either, but I just thought, if it's a revenue generating thing for the park.
They're going there anyway.
I-
Why not charge them to
I don't know. So
clean
just
it up?
and I know the park commission. I've sat in on a few meetings and heard them talking about this, but again, that's an idea to partner specifically with the park.
Revenue generation.
But I will undertake to do a little bit of an examination of the park's lease with I think the lease is now with the girls softball. And take a look at that lease and see, and then we need to have a chat, somebody needs to have a chat with is there any coordination, Ashley, again, I'm gonna put you on the spot, is there any coordination about scheduling between the Little League and any of the city operations? Or do they just do their own thing and show up when they care
No,
to?
there are months of operation in the lease that is when their seasons generally
Yeah.
run, and they give us a schedule, whenever they have it finalized. Currently, we usually know it's about 4 to 8 most afternoons starting in a couple weeks, but they give us more definite schedules as it comes to it. And then any times that they're not using it, obviously we're able to rent it out for other use, use it ourselves. But they have months.
And the reason for doing that is because the back park becomes Little League at some point in time, is where the
Well,
dogs.
yeah, the rule is,
Yeah.
the Little League's first on the back park,
Right.
and the dog people are supposed to leave.
Mhm.
If the Little League's out there practicing, throwing the ball around,
Mhm.
the dogs go.
Mhm.
And I think that's pretty well what they do. I mean, I think that's,
I'm out in the park walking my exercise walk most every morning, but I'm not there in the afternoon, so I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on. I just know that.
there's dogs there all day.
I was gonna say, yeah, there's dogs there all
When
the
you
time.
drive down the street here, you look
Yeah.
over there, there's just about, there's, 1 or 2 dogs in the afternoon, 3 or 4 at lunch, and there's maybe 10 or 12 in the morning.
All right, well,
And
Emily,
in
you
the
wanna
evening, another 4
carry
or
a
5.
dog park solution?
I mean, I'm happy to talk to them about it, and more of like,
But
This
who-
is a
do I
project that-
Talk to Little League, or do I talk to them?
talk to the park commission and just say, hey, this is a project, if we all agree that we wanna proceed with it, of,
I
So
have
you know,
a hard- I have a
what-
hard time reconciling the two
Yeah.
uses for that space.
oh, I mean, that space is, yes,
Where kids play and
it's
then.
complicated. Yeah,
it's
that's not an
seems-
understatement.
I'll
So
throw one
your,
other-
your proposal is just to charge, if they are gonna share it, charge, just like we charge the Little League, charge the dog users so that at least we can
But they're
clean.
not an organized group to charge. You gotta
That's
have to
right.
figure
But
out
you can-
something like a.
yeah, I don't know how you
quarter
order
in
we'd
the
have to-
kiosk to
Well,
get
she
in.
says, yeah, as you pay as you play.
Yeah,
One
I mean, it's
other
true.
thing,
Because,
have
I mean, if you
visited-
think the amount of people that actually come to the dog park and the park that don't live in our community
That's
is like
exactly where I was going.
astronomical. I mean, it's like,
Yes.
if I remember, Ashley, is like 80% of the
80%.
people, or 85%. It's like a crazy number. So, and I know there will be individuals in the community that talk of that will be frustrating. But I'm really focused on the 80% that come here that benefit from all the stuff that we have, and they just
And
use
don't
it.
contribute to it.
Yeah, they use it and don't contribute and leave.
This is,
And so maybe it is, if you don't live in Rollingwood, if you're not a Rollingwood resident, then you'd be charged.
We
That's
charge-
more-
don't we charge on the pavilion for those?
Yeah, oh
People
yeah.
who want that?
But that's also if you live here. You have to pay for that.
You can't use it if you don't live here.
It's a different.
No, you can. It's just two different rates.
Yeah, there's two different
Okay.
rates.
All
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
all right.
So yeah, I mean, I just think it's worth a conversation on. The dog park is a hot topic, I know, but if we're having all this usage by outside users of our community,
Is it still on the books that we have dog tags here?
No.
When we first moved here, we had to get our dog tags. You had to
Oh.
come down to City Hall, bring your dog,
wow.
get your dog tag, and you paid for it. And I don't know why you couldn't do that. Just have everybody, if they're gonna be in the city of Rollingwood, they've gotta have a
dog
dog
tag.
tag, and they've gotta pay $30 a year for
I
it,
mean,
or something. I don't know. But
I like that.
we actually had a dog catcher too.
did we really?
really?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Bobby's looking.
I wish they would come get my dog. Gladly pay for that. Take him.
I want the minutes to accurately reflect the characterization of it.
So I mean, is that a project?
I move that all references be made to poop instead of to other terms for that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Pat? I know.
That's gonna be a difficult one
I
to
know.
enforce. But I mean, either you do it for everybody and everybody have to buy a dog license, a dog tag, and have it on the dog to get in the park. That to me makes more sense rather than trying to do membership based.
Okay.
But you're gonna get everybody in Rollingwood with the dog tag, cause I won't say every house has a dog, but there's a lot of
There's
dogs.
a lot of
But
dogs,
but
right?
then they're gonna get really mad that they're the 20%.
But those people don't have to, you don't have to pay for a dog tag unless you wanna go into the
But-
park,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You've got, if you have a dog in Rollingwood, whether you live here or not, you've gotta have it tagged.
Yeah.
Simple as that. So the people living over on Brady and living on Ridgewood Road that are in Westlake Hills,
Yeah, they can.
they
Yeah.
could, they could buy a tag
Right.
and go to the park.
And we could have it just like we do for the pavilion. If you're a resident,
Yeah,
it's a
that's right.
smaller fee. You know, I just think it's a missed opportunity to generate some revenue.
Mhm.
I
I don't know if it's gonna,
Oh, I know, it's a hot topic. I know I'm
Yeah.
It's gonna be
stepping,
a hot topic.
I'm stepping into the
Then you-
milk and
you're
cookies
gonna have to get
2.0.
a
Stepping into it, yeah, for sure.
You're gonna have to get a cop to come by and enforce it too in the mornings,
Right.
my experience
Yeah, but
in the
also
mornings.
that, I mean,
Reinforce traffic laws.
I was gonna
Let me
say,
tell you how I know.
I think a kiosk like this, like when you get on the subway in New York, you know, you have to put in
Yeah, ticket, yeah.
It's okay.
to get in the fence.
I don't mean that.
Okay.
All right.
cause that then will help with, we'll see. Okay.
Colin, storefront modernization pilot, what's that dress that out for us a little bit.
So what I was wondering is, you know, we've got a lot of dated buildings, right, in our little area on BK's. New build is, you know, a pretty heavy lift, but if you pick something, I was kind of thinking of Chinatown, where you've got something that's anchored well with, you know, it's actually added that new pizza joint, and see what it would take to kind of modernize, kind of partner with the commercial owner and see, you know, can a little bit of their funds, a little bit of our funds, take something, you know, and not have to do a complete new build and have it look like we would want it to look like, and what would that
Yeah.
do to fill out?
I mean, a little paint, set out some, you know, a nice seating area for people to sit
Yeah, 'cause
outside. It's
there's
like,
grass in front. I just happen to be decided
Yeah.
to pick one to get my thoughts there. And there's grass and things like that out there. I think you could, for a relatively, you know, modest investment, if they're willing to partner with you based on the rent increases, and the density, they have open space there that I think they would get pretty quickly.
A significant issue with the merchants is gonna be signage, making their signs more attractive, more prominent.
yeah, which I don't disagree with, because half the signs, like, they're so hard to read. I mean, you can't always see them.
That needs to be part of the thought about the modernization.
Oh, for sure, yeah. It
Yeah.
would be that and the facade, and kind of start there, I think.
Is there any way that we could, I'm back to the Bee Cave now, the Bee Cave frontage. We've got a Goodwill over there. I love Goodwill, but is that the highest and best use of Bee Cave Road frontage to produce value for the city? And, I guess we've got the cleaners is over there, the Goodwill, the tire place, the car
Signage.
wash. I don't know that we could really do anything. I mean, we don't own that area, but we actually do own, I'm told we own some area back there.
Yeah.
Not
Behind.
frontage, but
Behind.
the city owns some things.
Behind.
By providing parking perhaps, could we induce, I'm just throwing out ideas along your line though.
Yeah, I think that's exactly.
Could we induce an upgrade to the, as well as the front, put some parking in back?
I think it would be the same thing. It's like you pick one of them. That's even worse, and so it may be easier to do some simple improvements. You're not going to get anything better than what you've got there because of what it looks like, right? So again, could we do something with that structure?
Yeah.
Well, I think you need to, I don't know if you were familiar with the retail coach study, and we signed an agreement with Retail Coach to solicit businesses for the business corridor.
Right.
For the market that area
Right.
to whether it's, you know, Chewy's or whatever type of restaurant or something, so that Retail Coach will be pointing out probably properties that may not be on the market, but you can buy them, and properties that if you made them a real offer, they would probably close and go away, and you could tear down some of those buildings and build either a nice restaurant or a nice retail store, or that would generate sales tax revenue. That's the purpose.
When do we,
That just started.
Yeah, we just signed the
when
contract.
do we expect a report from
It's-
those folks?
It's not, like in a month, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that
a
what
month.
we?
That's what they
It's about a
said.
month. It literally was just signed like last
Yeah.
week.
But they're gonna go to trade shows to market that
Yeah.
area. So, I mean, there's, you know, and I would think that, you know, some of that space over by Trader Joe's that's been vacated will get shown to national clients. Or,
Do that, and I think that we could use, I mean, nobody in the city of Austin likes to hear about tax incentives, but could we offer tax
Yeah.
incentives to these big business, or to these businesses or the landlords to put in retail operations, restaurants, whatever it may be, that the local people want?
Yeah, that's a part of the
city can.
city,
Yeah.
the
I don't
city
know,
master
we
plan.
can't, but the city can if
Yeah.
we brought them something.
The retail coach is gonna be doing that.
Yeah.
They're gonna know everybody that owns a building over there and every property manager that deals in that area. And try to find the highest and best use for that property in a business-like way.
And they'll push to have tax incentives from the
Yes.
city, okay,
Well, no, well, they may not push tax incentives, but they're gonna try to get them in there first.
whatever it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they need $10,000 for rehab or $20,000 for rehab of that building, and that's the sticking point, they can apply to the RCDC.
Okay.
It's business development.
Yeah, we could do something like that. I think one limitation on your tax abatement concept is that most of the taxes go to the schools.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
so the schools are gonna have to buy into something that we would do that would be really meaningful, Bobby.
I don't see that happening.
I don't either.
Our
And
school
I think, Megan, doesn't, it's, what is it, chapter 313 or something doesn't that go away sometime soon? Anyway,
I
let's
was
not
thinking
go
the
down
city
that
does under
rabbit hole, but there's-
380. Yeah, there's different.
The tax incentive business is,
Yeah.
City can, yeah.
it's something that can be done, but with our tax rate, it's just not,
There's not enough there.
Right.
I
But I think
I
calling
don't know if
your,
it is or not, but I'm just warning that it may not be.
but I think your
might
idea
not
of
be.
calling, once we get the retail coach stuff back, it's
All right,
worth,
we're running
absolutely.
out of time. Colin, what is your idea about traffic control? What do you mean by that?
Gate the city.
Okay.
Gate the city.
Yeah, no. No, I was thinking about, I don't know what conversation I was in, but anyway, you know, people, including me, would probably, I think I was thinking about the milk and cookies thing, and then just anything that we're gonna do. Anything we're gonna do, you know, if it works at all, it's probably gonna increase traffic, right?
Yeah,
Didn't we sign up for the traffic study?
no, we didn't.
We haven't done that
No.
yet?
We have not,
But that's on the table,
doing a
have a-
traffic study.
about funding, some of RCDC money funding a traffic study for the city.
Yeah, and that's what a piece of this
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
My thought process was, as we're putting forward a bunch of really good ideas that hopefully increase, you know, revenue and traffic, that let's get in front of it in terms of, like, people are already, like, I'm not happy with how fast people are going down Edge Grove. I'm not happy how fast people are going down Rolling Wind Drive. Like, it doesn't take a lot to just stop
You ought
that.
to try the downstairs part of Hatley. I'm 53.
Really.
Yeah.
So I mean, but I think we should, you know,
Yeah.
do that study and then start to, you know,
Put in the speed bumps or,
Right.
whether it be
traffic
that, whether it be
control
put more of the how fast you're going signs, whether it be some extra overtime from
Or the
the
police
officers.
sitting out there, which
What-
is helpful.
you know, you also can put in the traffic cams. Some of the, out at Lakeway in that area, they put in there's a company that'll put in the traffic cams. You have to pay for it,
Yeah.
but it feeds into the city and and people don't like this, but it takes a picture of the license plate, it takes a picture of the speed.
You
It's
just
not a
can't- you just-
ticketing
yeah,
process.
Yeah, it's not a
but-
ticketing process.
But it
yeah.
gives the police then evidence that, you know, your teenager's going 55 in a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit,
Right.
or vice versa,
Oh,
or the dad's doing it.
I
But I
love
mean,
that.
Or Bobby.
that is a,
I'd be shocked.
you know,
Yeah.
definitely a viable option with, we've only got about 8 entrances to this city that you could put
Yeah.
cameras
Yeah.
for, and they would, you know, for public safety use,
Right.
so,
I think it's a great idea.
Okay,
Um,
we can kind of resurrect that
yeah.
we tried to do last year, a traffic study.
Let's do it.
Okay. So Brian, you're up next with this design and implement convenient and safe passage of Rolling Wind residents from the central part, which is the bridge kind of
Well,
concept you're
that's-
talking about.
I don't know the details of how we would do it, but it actually ties in with what Bobby's talking about.
Yeah.
And that is trying to get our people to shop at Trader Joe's instead of Randall's
Yeah.
by finding some way to make a nice, safe
Walking.
sidewalk that gets us over there.
Mhm.
Right now, we don't really have a sidewalk that goes down Edge Grove,
Yeah.
and we do have some traffic controls there, but maybe I'm just getting old, but it's hard for me to get across that damn street as big as it is in the time that we've got. There'd be a coordination of lights, or maybe even if you drive down South Congress, they've got, I think they call them pedestrian refuges in the middle of the street, where
Yeah.
you have big crossings,
Yeah.
and you just have some
They have those
some
in Zilker
poles
too.
around
Yeah.
to make sure that the traffic doesn't run somebody over who's not getting across in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
time. I don't know. I don't
But all
know.
that's
If
gonna
we're
kinda
going to
have to
hire
go
a
on
traffic
text.
engineer though, this is exactly the kind of thing the
Yeah.
traffic engineer can help us with.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's also a text dot conversation too.
Yeah,
Well,
we
but-
need to wait on, I think, on that, because what's gonna happen with this last bit of this corridor with MOPAC, if we put a bridge or whatever we put in, it's just gonna get taken out in the next batch of engineering.
I don't know, yeah.
well, see,
The only bridge I would think we would need, Bobby, would be a pedestrian bridge, although there might be a new, across the creek there by the Shell station.
Mhm.
yeah.
I don't
Oh, to
know,
put one there?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to have one.
I'm not sure, this is we're back to the traffic study though, and the expertise of the traffic person. Is it safe? Can we make a kind of quasi sidewalk with maybe some raised curbing or something on the bridge that's there to facilitate pedestrian safety, or do we need a bridge? And a pedestrian bridge is a lot cheaper to build than a
Yeah.
car bridge. You got a lot less weight and you can
Well,
span it without.
That
So
one's,
I've got
that
a
one's
question about, does the city have an easement for sidewalks along Edge Grove?
I believe so.
So we could build sidewalks from
Tom
Rollingwood,
Farrell tells me that we do.
we could build it from Rollingwood Drive
Mhm.
all the way down to BK's Road, a sidewalk,
Mhm.
and build a pedestrian bridge. And
We-
I don't think we may not even be here when TxDOT decides. And I think it's one of these things we've talked about for 10 years,
Yeah.
or 15 years.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things, maybe it's time just to go ahead and build a sidewalk,
Yeah.
build a bridge, and just bite the bullet, and it may be there 5 years, it may be there 50 years.
Mhm.
and we can have the text dot conversation of pushing back on them of saying, we're gonna do this
We've
as
got
a
some
city.
bite-sized projects we could do before we take that one on,
Right.
but that's what I have in mind. Is
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
along those lines with
Yeah.
maybe a pedestrian refuge in the middle of existing, traffic control. But
Well, that's a highway, we've gotta get TxDOT on that.
Yeah.
But up to it, we have
the
it's
control.
our right
Yeah,
to
it's
build a
ours, yeah.
sidewalk.
I'm
But
sure
if we
that's
agree we
right.
wanna do it, it's a longer term thing, so we should start whatever we need
Yeah.
to start now.
Yeah.
Which is
Well,
getting
what
engineers
is the
involved.
status of the traffic study as a project?
We haven't moved forward with it.
Didn't we get an estimate, or was gonna get an estimate, Ashley?
I'm trying to remember if that was only discussed as a future thing.
Exactly. We never,
I thought that we actually agreed to contribute to a city,
That's what I thought,
Yeah.
citywide traffic
that
study.
if they were gonna come
but
back.
the city did not,
We go ahead.
did not move
We
ahead.
didn't do anything that I can remember to.
But
We
to me,
have
it's,
one from how long ago? What was the last time they did it?
2009, if I remember. It's
When we did the
2000.
It's been
striping,
a while.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they haven't done, they have not moved forward on that yet.
So I guess maybe we should have a resolution to encourage the city to proceed with the traffic study
Mhm.
for the whole city.
And then if that was then something that they wanted to do and y'all could find to.
But we'd be willing to
Fund part
fund
of
up
it, yeah.
part of, 20% of it, since it involves the park area and Edge Grove and business development.
Yeah.
Possibility, yeah.
Okay. 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 Where do we? I put this on here because this was something that we talked a little about last year. Was the city hall, and funding it. Where do we stand with that? I know Westlake Fire was gonna put in a substation potentially, and I mean, this is a lovely
We used to
building.
have a truck over here. I
but-
don't know that we do now.
We
Megan, would
actually-
that fit? Is that within our, don't answer the question now, but just the question in my mind would be, can we even do that? I don't know. I
We-
don't know.
Actually, in conjunction with the comp plan workshops that the city council is going to be doing,
All right.
we're going to be, re-going over the city's spatial needs assessment. And we
Okay.
do plan on having the fire chief, David Wilson from Travis County ESD number 9, which is Westlake, here as well. They're very interested. It's one of their strategic initiatives and
Right.
goals very soon to have a presence in Rollingwood. It would meet a lot of those goals for them and help them with their response time. So they're very interested in it. So it's definitely still in discussions and would be a great opportunity, obviously, to provide for some shared spaces and save some taxpayer money. So he'll be talking on that. That's Wednesday
Okay.
at 5 o'clock. Wednesday the 16th at 5 o'clock.
Maybe
if
we can rent them
anyone's-
some space on the commercial corridor. 'Cause can you imagine trying to put one?
Yeah. Okay. So we'll just hold that one.
I don't know how you do it, but
For
I
now.
actually like that. It would be.
So Brian, you have the last two, the replacement of degraded erosion control and placement of new erosion.
Well, this all
and the
gets
dead
back
trees.
to how much effort we can, or how much money we can, and how much we want to allocate our income and our assets to the park versus development. But it all gets back to getting the park commission off their,
Yeah.
and whatever it is, and getting them to propose what they want.
Mhm.
I mean, this is me walking around saying what I want.
Yeah, sure.
But the park commission ought to come to us with that,
Oh, we
and
need
we
to
ought to
get-
go to
yeah.
the park commission and say, and I'll do that, I'll put it on my calendar for next Monday, and, the first Monday of the month, Ashley, and go to the park commission meeting and tell them about the feelings of the RCDC that we're willing to help, but they gotta come up with some of the ideas.
Mhm.
And do some of the work of implementing, it seems to me, as well.
All of the work of implementing, and they gotta do some of the fundraising.
Yeah,
Do it
there's
together.
layers to that, but yeah, okay. So, I mean, I think for the most part, everything on this list has been a positive and exciting. I think there's some steps here that needs to happen, so I think, and everyone, from what we've talked about, I would think a good number one step would be to request that the city move forward with a traffic study, and the RCDC would fund a portion of that. Is that fair?
Can we
Yeah,
make
but
a-
I still, I
Yeah,
don't.
there's
I don't-
traffic studies and traffic studies. It's like you hire an architect, you tell them to build a Taj Mahal, or you tell them to build an outhouse, and you gotta tell them what you want studied, but
No, of
yes,
course.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
But I'm just saying, but that's the direction of.
Can we make a motion now on that?
Bobby?
Just so I get one last piece of clarification, what are we hoping to do with the traffic
Well,
study?
that's why I'm bringing it up, of like, yeah, what's,
Yeah, I
what's
mean,
the,
I'm not opposed to it, but I'd like to know what's the
What do we
reasoning
want
for it.
from that?
Cause then we're gonna have another '09
Well-
traffic study that nothing was done from.
Yeah.
Well, I think you you want a traffic study, one for the volume, and two for the speeds that people are driving, what should be the speed limit in Rollingwood, the safe speed limit. And two, potential safety improvements to the roads or sidewalks in Rollingwood that are needed to provide a safe environment for the citizens.
to walk from
To walk,
our
well,
community
there's
to,
people walking all the time in the city.
but
No,
it's a
I
part of
totally
the,
agree.
is
But
part
we
of
know what
that,
the safe speed is, it's either 25 or 30, right?
Right, but it's a part of
People
that
just aren't
But you get
walkway.
into state laws on that too.
Yeah.
You can only do so much.
Is
But I
it-
just wonder, the
It
study
has to be
comes out and
engineered, I
says,
think,
we
before
need
you
to
can
slow
set the speed
down,
limit.
and we're gonna spend, $40,000 on a traffic study to say, we got lots of traffic and people are driving too fast.
but maybe we focus it on the Edge Grove area, which we all know is,
Well, that's why we pay 20%.
So I think why we do, I think what we need it for two reasons. One, it's gonna help us target, like, we know it's happening, but what are the target times? What are the absolute worst areas?
Mitigation
then-
also, the
and then
speed
it's- and then it
bumps, speed
sets a-
humps,
Then it sets a baseline. So
Yeah.
then we put in
everybody hates them.
cameras and
Yeah.
other stuff like that, and then it's like, what did it do? And then you measure it again. But I think if we did, I think, Brian, to your point, it's probably not studying everything under
no,
the
right.
sun. It's a very targeted, simple, straightforward study.
But if
So
you go over to Stratford,
It's all you.
Bobby, just slow down.
Yeah.
you go look at Stratford, they've got, is it Vale that's closed
Oh,
on
yeah,
Stratford?
yes.
Or-
Big
It's not
pain in the
Vale.
Why did they ruin my left turn?
Ugh,
Yeah.
drives me crazy, because they said there's too many people coming out of the park and using this as the.
Cutting
Cutting
through
through,
Rollingwood.
yeah.
So the city of Austin did that, but the city council, I guess our city council got it done, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's this type of stuff that needs to be done.
Yes.
But
So-
right, to me, the
Just not
traffic
for me.
study is
Me
all
neither.
these pieces,
Maybe
but
it's special
Yeah.
should be
permit.
focused
We
on
need to
Edge
designate,
Grove.
I think we need to designate
I
with
know
some
it means
specificity to the
Yeah.
city council what we'd be willing to fund as part of a traffic
Right.
study, because the traffic study would be a lot bigger than what
Business
Yeah.
development is what we got.
than what we would have any
Yes.
jurisdiction to do.
Right. I would say, Pat said
I agree.
business
I think
development
he's
with
right.
the focus of
Pat,
Edge Grove.
I would say, if anything, what we ought to do is just a resolution to, request to the city council, and then we ought to specify what parts of a traffic study we think need to be done. And tie it to the Edge Grove, tie it to
Well-
other things. We need to,
For us, yeah, but I think for the city, they need to look at this,
Oh, I agree.
speeding problem
I agree.
and the volume of
Yeah,
traffic.
but if
that's
we're
coming
gonna
through.
participate, how much are we gonna participate for is gonna be the question.
Well,
Yeah.
that's negotiable.
Yeah.
We need to talk.
Okay, so so can we make a motion now, Ashley?
I mean, do you feel like we're posted for this if we're talking about future potential projects? Do we wanna put something on?
We've got discussion of possible action, but if we don't have the information we need for specifics, I guess to
Yeah, I
me
guess
the
let's-
direction would be to
This is,
staff to
right,
come
you're right.
back
No,
with
you're right, you're right. So this
a
is,
resolution, a draft
That's kinda why,
resolution.
yeah, that's kinda
Yeah.
why I thought a resolution rather than a motion
so-
for adoption of a project, cause we don't have enough
Right,
information
but
to
we want
adopt a
them to,
project.
want the
But-
city of council to move forward on it.
yeah, so traffic study with focus on speeds, volume of visitors, and specifically biz dev, economic development, of Edge Grove for safer sidewalks,
To
maybe
the-
a bridge,
to the retail
pedestrian, to
corridor,
the
yeah.
retail corridor,
Yeah.
basically.
Alright, let's draft up something, take a look
Yep.
at it and pass it around among ourselves.
Okay. So that for sure, number one to happen, and then sounds like number two is figuring out this concept of an event. Whatever we want to do, I mean, that to me is, I think everyone should go see Mueller and see it, and then we can come back and say, okay, this is what we liked, what we didn't like. Here's how we could start it.
Who organizes that Mueller deal? Is it just a
I think
ad
it's-
hoc, or is it they have a company, a firm that does it?
I don't know. I can ask my friends that are in it and find out.
Be interesting to
Yeah.
know.
I think we're gonna need Barry. Barry seems to think that he has contacts with groups that. do
Yeah,
these
and
kind
Barry
of things,
does.
But he's not
Yeah.
here to tell us what he has.
Yeah,
and
but
I
he
don't
does.
know.
He talked about that last time. Okay. And then figuring out, we need to figure out what is happening with the concession stand and sort of what that looks like, what needs to be upgrades, what are we thinking, you know, how is easy to
Ashley, do we have
walkability of
access
it.
to the concession stand? Does the city have a key? Is it locked?
I'm
I don't know the answer to
I know.
that.
I'm sure we have the key. It's definitely all the Little League and softball operated, so all
Okay.
their stuff is in there.
So that would be a good question for the park commission, Brian.
Be a good question for just me to go up there one afternoon and open the damn door
And
and
just-
find out what's in there.
And then kind of figuring out from the park commission, like,
You can also reach out to them too. I can reach
Yeah.
out to a representative from softball or something and see, you know, what they.
I mean, if they're just using it for storage area, Bobby, then that's a different level of problem, cause you gotta get rid of all the, you know, in order to find out what's in there and what's its operating, status. I don't know.
Well,
Or you can't, you're not able to make a change on this lease term with the softball, but I don't know how long their lease is.
I don't either. I've got a copy of it, but I haven't sat down and looked
yeah,
at
but like
it.
how, what if we could,
Is a
Abstract
food
copy.
truck and concession though, I think are mutually exclusive.
yeah,
Right?
Mutually exclusive.
Yes.
one or the other.
No. Meaning they're parallel tracks.
Right.
It's-
All right.
Yeah.
yes.
You could do both.
You could do both.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I just.
And then I think the fourth thing is sort of the retail coach piece of what we get back, how that could impact modernizing the commercial corridor, what that piece would look like. I put that as number 4 only because I think we need some time for them to go out and do their research and come back to us.
A quick question, and this may be way off left field. With all of the infrastructure spending that's been approved at the national level, how are we as a city figuring out what we're eligible for?
It's a great question. I don't know. Ashley?
Ashley, do you know
Actually, you
anything?
need to stay there.
Yeah.
So I only know of a couple so far that have come down to a point where we can start obviously applying for them. One currently through the Water Development Board, but it's a lot of it's money that we're not going to see today, right? So long application processes, you know, multi-year for over the next like 5 years. We did obviously get our ARPA funding. That's already been, half of it has been given to us, and we'll get the next half next year. So we just keep an eye on those as they come down, and a lot of times we have a like kind of a regional or a statewide city group that will send us information like, hey, be on the lookout for these. Now you might be eligible, and we just apply for what we can. So.
I think the answer is that it's a great idea and no one knows.
I know.
Yeah.
But I wonder how we,
I just wonder how we
Funnel.
like instead of like how do we take somebody who's just an expert in public sector funding go look at this, because there's always creative stuff.
Yeah.
There's the stuff that flows down that's obvious, and then
Right.
I mean, look, we already don't know where our $80,000
But-
goes, so you tell me we can't go find some
Right.
secret money there.
There's an organization, the Texas, are you talking about the Texas Municipal League? Texas Municipal League has they're here in Austin, number one. Number two, they have a wonderful, modern website, and we might just, if you would just spend 10 minutes on their website.
And what, the name again?
Texas Municipal League.
Okay.
It's a nonprofit that is an association of all the towns and whatnot.
Awesome.
It also has a summary of the 10-page public meetings law, which runs 320 pages. The summary does.
I'm not interested in that.
Either one.
Oh. Summary's 10 of the
I'm just an
320.
idea person. I don't know what to do that.
Big picture. Big picture. So to Colin's statement a second ago about the mutual exclusivity of the concession stand and the rotating food truck, what would be the next step on the on a food truck of any sort
What's getting a permit,
from?
the city. You have to have a permit for that.
Not in your parks. Commercial? I thought that was a discussion.
Figuring
What
out,
what's our next step?
Yeah.
I think
To
our biggest challenge
promoting
is to try and recruit one.
right, recruiting one. I mean, what would be a fit? I mean, I think the coffee idea is great. I also think Saturday, maybe it's a Saturday coffee,
Yeah.
bagels, tacos, you know.
Yeah.
If we do this in coordination with the Little League,
Oh, I think you would definitely, if you're there at the same time, it'd be great, because then you got that many more
Yeah.
people standing there, yeah, for sure.
I think it's a proof of concept that needs to be done with the Little League, because they've got the crowd.
Although if you haven't been to the park on a Saturday morning, there's a crowd.
And then you add a
Wait.
food truck with good coffee and
They-
bagels.
It's just say it is
It'll
packed.
Yeah.
Bloody Marys, yeah.
What'd you say?
Bloody Mary.
Oh, Bloody Mary.
Bloody
If you want to drive revenue, there's one way to do it.
Yeah, so it's the permit, figuring out, coordinating with Little League, or, you know, picking a fun Saturday when maybe there's events happening, and then posing it then to the city to say, this is what we want to do. Yeah, and that's
Actually, I
something,
think-
and that's something could happen in like a month or two.
Quickly, yeah.
I mean, that could happen very quickly, that
Yes.
proof of concept.
For sure.
Okay. Okay. I think Colin and I will just sort of take notes and update this and then send it back out to the group. Okay, that was a great discussion. I appreciate all the ideas and thank you. I know we're running over, so we'll go quickly. Number 7, we have the just presentation and discussion regarding the annual economic development report to the Comptroller, which was brought up last time by Brian.
I would table that until next time, if you will. I mean, we're running late, and we have an example of it that is a 2-liner, and that's not
Well, we got 2020 back
very,
here.
pardon?
The one they filed for 2020 is
Yeah.
attached.
Yeah, 21 hasn't been filed yet.
No.
Correct, it has not been
They-
filed yet.
We've recently filed, I think, back from 2016 till modern times, and all of them are single lines, which are not very transparent. I would like to take on as a project myself, getting behind that a little bit, but that's not, we don't need to spend the time on it today.
So those are the reports straight from the Comptroller's website. We submit them online every year. That's what it produces when you go in. That's the documentation we have. We use
Right.
our audited information.
Plug it in.
Right.
That I think I know what you mean by the one line, that original. There's one place where you can go and search,
Yeah.
and it just kind of summarizes things for you in a table. But you can pull the actual reports. I'm just not sure what other
I'll
information.
get with you and see if I can do that.
Okay.
And do we get a monthly, income and expense
Mhm.
report?
Yes.
Is
We
it in our package that I
Yep.
didn't pull?
Yes, the financials are in the packet.
It's in the packet every time.
month.
I must have printed the package early.
Yeah.
I didn't get that.
You probably, that is also my bad. I didn't get them in there till, forget when you emailed me about it. I was a
All right.
little delinquent on getting those in there, but generally they're there every month. If
It
they're
was
not,
my fault as the
shoot me an
treasurer,
email.
Ashley.
Yeah, the treasurer's
My bad.
fault,
That was my
actually.
The beatings will continue
Yeah.
then.
So I guess, Brian, you're just gonna get with Ashley.
Yeah, I'll just go look at it, and
Okay.
if I've got questions, I'll
Get with
Abel, are you awake over there?
Yes.
I'll come over and talk to Abel.
And then the last thing was just the financials discussion, which was, I'm not saying we need to get into a deep discussion in this moment because I know we're running behind, but that this $88,000 that we are paying the city for, and typically around the summer is when we present our budget. Again, I think we need to spend some time, working session time, on figuring out
My
that.
recollection of watching that happen at the city budget level is that the 88 got reduced to 44, but still we need to have an idea of what it is we're paying for and why.
Agree.
Good.
But the 88 just sticks out like a sore thumb as being, we're paying how much?
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah, and we questioned it last year, and the ball was too far down the field to pull it back. So
Okay.
that is something we can go into deeper next time. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna take some of this as homework assignments and work on them, and I'll send my results around
Okay. And
carefully so that I don't violate the
the opens meeting.
public meetings rules.
I'm gonna motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right,
Thank you.
vote with your feet.